And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, Tom Vasel here. Today we're taking a look at a game called Squish Em. Yeah. I find that just the name itself having interesting, especially when the cover shows a tree or an elf sitting in a tree about to squish a rabbit. Poor rabbit. This is a card game for up to 4 players. In fact, it really is. It says 2 to 4. But it's kind of a 3 to 4 player game. You'll see when I show you how it's played, where you're essentially trying to be one of those old school RPG players. The person who gets the final hit gets all the experience. That's kind of how this game works. Let me show you. Each player is going to take a set of cards that matches one of the types here. We got Summoner, Speller, Barbarian, and Elf. So each of them, so for example, the Barbarian here is Saliva Salvo, Coffee Break, Sweat Swipe, Tiger Tango, Poisonous Blast, and 9,000 Pounds Blade. Everyone has a Coffee Break card. The rest of the cards have an attack. They tell you what type it is. This usually doesn't matter, but it might, depending on what's going on, how much damage the attack does, and the priority number of the attack, which is the most important thing. So each round of the game, you're going to reveal the top monster from a monster card deck. So here we have a Dryad. Now we look and see that the Dryad has 13 hit points. So we use a pile of cards. Let's see, here's 10, 11, 12, 13. So I got 13 hit points here. Then each round, each player is going to take a card from their pile of cards, and they're going to play them. These cards are revealed simultaneously. So let's see here. The Speller played a number 1 here. Deals damage after all ranged attacks happen. The Nature's Call played a 7 with an attack. The 9,000 Blade, a 7. And the Abyssal Goat, whatever, is a 5. The reason I'm talking about these numbers is because if you played the same number as someone else, these both played 7s, they're both canceled. Now, this does damage after all ranged attacks. Is this range? No, so this happens first. So 3 damage is done to the Dryad, so now it's down to 10. Then we look at this card here, and this gives -1 damage to all ranged attacks. Well, there is no other ranged attacks, and this one simply just does 3 more damage. So now the Dryad is down to 7 hit points. And so I have 7 hit points there. Each person will then take their card back in their hand, and they'll play a card. Now, they can play the same card. They can play a Coffee Break card. You can see here that the Speller played a Coffee Break card, hoping no one else has enough damage that they can do damage next turn. Meanwhile, we have 2 3s and an 8. So the 2 3s cancel out, and this attack can never be canceled, it says. Well, that's great. It does only 2 damage. The Dryad still has 5 damage. And everyone plays another card, and we keep going. When someone does the finishing blow, they get the monster card. Everybody else, too bad. Even if you did most of the damage to the monster. And then we start another round. Now here, this cancels all earth attacks. So any attack that had an earth token on it would have been canceled. And the different monsters will do different things. Here's a Valkyrie that cancels magic attacks. Here's an annoying ghost who paralyzes a player whose attack has been canceled. When you're paralyzed, you must play your Coffee Break card the next turn. Here's Barney the Dino, who all attacks do 1 damage in the first turn, 2 in the second turn, and so on. This guy who paralyzes the person does the most damage. An Irish Dwarf cancels the effects of every attack. There's the cute little bunny. He takes double damage from the elf's attacks, as we have seen on the front of the box. Each of the characters has 1 monster in the deck that takes more damage specifically from them. For example here, the Flaming Sword, the Barbarian, can go after that one. There's also a Double Trouble card, so you'll draw 2 monsters. Anyhow, the first person to kill 3 monsters is the winner of the game. You can play a longer game where people go after 5 monsters, but that's how you play. You just keep going until someone has killed enough of the monsters, like the Philosopher Potato. Now, the artwork of this game is good. Squished bunnies, nonetheless, and I'm not promoting that you squish bunnies. I won't lie and say I didn't laugh, though, when I saw that. But anyhow, the artwork for the game, I like it. There's that underlying current of humor. The idea of the game is also very good, where everyone's going to play a card, the same numbers cancel out, Each of the 4 different characters has different sets of cards, so there's that. The monsters are funny, there's a lot of interesting things here. In fact, we've seen something very similar to this called Cutthroat Caverns, in which that was the same type of game, except Cutthroat Caverns was a very big, grandiose game. This is a small card game. However, this game is not without some problems. First of all, component problems. The cards themselves, the most important number on the card really is, the artwork is great, but the number, the order that they go in, the priority number, that should be a big number because it needs to be easily visible. Everyone's kind of squinting. What priority number did you display? And I would make the damage number bigger too. Also, using cards for hit points, it's really fiddly. It really is. It shouldn't be. It's like, okay, he has 12, right, take away 2, and at this, counters would have been fine. You put a pile of counters there, pull some away each time. Of course, then it wouldn't fit in such a nice little small box. The gameplay itself, now, I can't believe I'm going to admit this, but I think this game might have done better if it was mostly symmetrical. I know, I'm always promoting games that are asymmetrical and the different sides, but the fact is, the Speller, for example, doesn't cross the Barbarian very often in cards. So if you're playing the Barbarian, you're not really worried about which cards, you're just worried about which damage. So you can play your fastest one. Now that might come after the Barbarian does a ranged one, so there's still a little bit of a, okay, I know I put the wine in this cup, and you know I put the wine in this cup, blah, blah, blah. But it's not as strong as it could be, mostly because there's just going to be confusion. Now, yes, you could play the game 5 times and get used to everyone's special cards, what they all do, what symbols are on the card, like this one cancels a range attack. How many range attacks does the Barbarian have again? You can do that, but I'm telling you, it really, all this does is it makes the game a big random affair. Not to mention the monsters. A monster comes up, that's easier for the Barbarian to kill. Yay? I don't even really understand the point of those. That's maybe thematic flair, but why should one person have an easier chance at doing something than everybody else, especially when you only need 3 monsters to win? You could play the 5 monsters, but then the game then is interminably long. I like games where you try to outthink other players, and there's a lot of games where everyone plays a card, you flip them over and see what happens. This one, you play the card, you flip them over, and you're like, oh, okay. And there's not a woohoo moment in it. It's more like a, oh yeah, you have that card and that. It's just too random. Even if in practice it may not have to be that random, it plays randomly. And while this is the kind of game that, honestly, when I saw the artwork, when I read the rules, I was like, yes, I'm really going to enjoy it. I just didn't like it that much. It's okay. But the fact is I want to be able to outguess someone else. Not sit there and go, okay, what cards do they have? Reference cards might have helped if you had a reference card that showed whatever all the other players have. But as it is short. It is cool, cute, funny artwork. But the game itself is lacking. Dice Tower judgment, just a little too random.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door!